We're in the Gevruras Hashem. We're in the Gevruras Hashem, chapter 26, on page Kuftes in this particular print. We're speaking about Moshe was told by God that when he comes to Egypt and he presents himself to the Jewish people, there are code words which he says, and when he says those words, they will believe that he's the Redeemer. What are the words? Pakod Pakadati. Pakod means God has remembered you to acknowledge you, to act on that acknowledgement, and to say it in a repetitious way, to reiterate the fact. Pikud Rebbe Lezer, why were they redeemed? Through this expression of Pakod Pakadati. So last week the Maral had given a number of explanations. The Pikud Rebbe Lezer, which was authored by Rebbe Lezer ben Hurkanis, explains it. Rebbe Lezer Oma Chamesh Osios Nichpelu Kulon Loshen Gulo Chof Peg Shnigel Avrom Avinu Miukazdim Shlem Alech Lecho Mi'artzecho. So we have Lamed and Chof, Lech Lecho. It's reiterated. Lech Lecho. He was redeemed. Interesting. He was redeemed from the Urkazdim. Now, why was Avram redeemed? What does it mean? He went into a kiln. A human goes into a kiln, doesn't come out alive. He came out of alive. So what was the coming out, emerging alive, fully functional, unsinged? That was redemption. Evidently, as I mentioned the other day, Avram is quantified only once as Ho-Ivri. He was the man on the other side, literally what it means. So the Midrash tells us, Avram me'ever echod, v'kol ha'olam me'ever hasheni. Avram was on one side, and the whole world was on the other side. Avram took on the world single-handedly. His conviction and his commitment and his confidence was, although he's a single individual, he could change the world. You know, a level of confidence, you say, it's sheer arrogance to have that level of confidence. So where was Avram? How did he have that? Avram was one of the most humble men who ever lived. After Moshe Rabbeinu, Avram was the next most humble. Mm-hmm. But yet, he has this confidence and conviction and understanding, I will take on the world single-handedly. How did he understand that he had that ability? So what I said was, it's unheard of a person going into a kiln coming out alive. Why did he come out alive? God performed the miracle. But why did God? It was meant for him to show his dedication, to give his life for God and not become a pagan, not to bow. He should have perished in the fire. Why did he come out? Evidently, God took him out. You have a mission. Because if you wouldn't have a mission, you've already accomplished what you meant to accomplish. You've given your life to sanctify God's name. He's given his life, but yet he comes out. Why is he coming out? God says, Avram, you have a mission. And I have something to say about that mission. I'm behind you in that mission. When God's your backer, God's behind you, the world is meaningless. All the galaxies are meaningless. Nothing means anything. Avram now is the Ivri. Coming out, Avram says, I am the Ivri. I am on one side, I will take on the whole world single-handedly. Because he understands that God's... So what was coming out of the kiln? It was a geula. It wasn't that he came out alive. It was a redemption. He's a different being. Before that, it's interesting. There's a Midrash. The Midrash Nachuma tells us that before he went into the kiln, Hashem says to Avram, he says, you have a choice now. He says, if you choose not to go in, then you'll be similar to a wooden door, that if you etch something on the door, eventually it could be disfigured. But if you go into the kiln, you will be like a stone wall. And a stone wall is so secure that you're able to build a silver edifice on top of it as its foundation. And just as a wall repels all attacks, you will be able to repel all attacks. That's what Hashem said to Avram. Avram says, I'm going into the kiln. And he went in, he came out. So when he came out, what was his understanding? You will repel everything. You will not be consumed or subjugated to anything. You'll be the dominant figure in existence. Now, Lech Lecha. So what was the expression of Geula? When redemption takes place, the letters are repeated. Lech, and again Lech. Lech Lecha, same letters. The vowels are just different. Mem Mem. Shenigal bo Avram Yitzchak. Avinu Yitzchak Plishtim. Avram Yitzchak, our forefather, was redeemed from the Philistines. Shenemar. Lech mi manu. The Gemara tells, the Pasuk tells us that it says that Yitzchak became, despite being a famine year, he became very wealthy. What does very wealthy mean? So Rashi cites the Midrash that the subjects of the Philistine king Avimelech said, we prefer the dung of the donkeys of Avram than the gold of our king. When you fertilize the field with the dung of Avram's donkeys, you know what grows from the field? Gold. When you take the gold of Avram and you invest it, you know what's produced? You have dung. So Avimelech says, you know something? You're an embarrassment to me. I'm supposed to be the king. People are supposed to revere me. And they see me as worthless, as a curse. Please leave. And he drove him from the community. Lech mi manu. Leave our community. You become more empowered than us. See, was forced him to leave. Lech imanu mimenu ma'od mimenu. Mem mimenu ma'od. Said mem is reiterated. Mimenu ma'od. From us very much. Nun. Where do we find the nun repeated? Which also indicates when it's reiterated, it's Geula. So it's interesting. I mean, Yitzchak leaving the Philistine king, leaving the community of Gevruras. How's that redemption? Going from Ur-Kasdim to Canaan, that we say, it's a different era. It's a different dimension. Avram becomes a different dimensional person. But Yitzchak leaving Gevruras and going into the other area, what do we see? He takes on a whole different persona, a whole different reality. Why is that Geula? We find that after he left, it says, he redug the wells of his father, and he came upon a fourth well. What he called the fourth well. And there was no dispute on the fourth well. It was called Rechovos. Why was it called Rechovot? Why was it called Rechovos? From the word Hichiv. Because God expanded his portion. There was no dispute. But what are the well springs? What do they represent? So the Ramban says these are all Masa Ovesim Labanim. These are only actions which only come about to set things in motion for the future. What the future will bring. So he goes and he explains that one was called Sitna, hate, right? One was called, first was Asek. There was a dispute over it. Next was called Sitna. Sitna is hate. Third one was called Rechovot. Third one was called Rechovot. So the Ramban says, the first base of Mikdash, each one, the wellspring is alluding to the first temple. We had one temple, a second temple, and we had a third. Why was the second temple destroyed? Second base, Sitna, Sinas Chinam, unwarranted hate. So it was what? It brought out the worst in the Philistines. The level of opposition. It was Avram's well. What was it finally? There was peace and tranquility. Rechovos. Hichav Hashem. Bayis Shlishi. Once the third comes, Hashem God will be declared and acknowledged as the supreme king, as the omnipotent power. All idolatry will be removed from existence. So the third. So that's redemption. So what did the third well represent? That's when he left. That's when he left Gevruras. That's when he came upon the third well. Nun Shenigal Avinu Yaakov. Miyad Esav. Shenemar. Hatzileini no. It's interesting. It says that Yaakov, when he heard that Esav's coming towards him with 400 men, he prepared for three things. He prayed. He sent a gift. He prayed, and he prepared for war. Right? Three things. What was the prayer? Hatzileni no miyad ochi miyad Esav. Please save me from the hands of my brother Esav. But did he know whether he'd be saved? Didn't know. So what does it say? Finally, when he saw him coming from a distance, he ran towards him. He prostrated himself 7 times. And he rose, and they embraced. Esav cried. So Esav's hate was diffused. Why was it diffused? How do you read it? Simple. Because he did it, he humbled himself. The gesture of humility, bowing 7 times, and then rising, this somehow touched Esav. But why was Esav touched? Because Yaakov humbled himself. You see from Pikad Rav Lezer that's not true. What was the Gula? Hatzileni no miyad ochi. This was an answer to the tefillah. Because he prayed, this is a manifestation of the answer. Otherwise, say, you know something? It was his initiative. That's what somehow he softened him. This is nun is gula. Hatzileni no miyad ochi. That's what brought gula. Otherwise, he could have been killed. Could have been killed by Esav. Very often, things happen in life. A person goes, many years ago, a certain person went for a bracha to a certain rabbi. Gave him bracha that, his family should be well. He should succeed in business, make a lot of money. Afterwards, this person, the story goes back 25 years ago, and the rabbi gave him the bracha. His son was crossing the street. He must have been 10 years old. He was hit by a truck. He flew 30 feet in the air, came down on the ground with a scratch. You understand? Okay? It's one event. The person invested in the market. This person made between $50 and $75 million. So I meet the person, and I originally suggested he should go to see this rabbi. Same person. So he says to me, I suggested, I said, Rabbi special. He says to me, he says, the rabbi told me a number of things. They all didn't happen. Why did you suggest I should go to the rabbi? You understand? I said, what are you talking about? I said, your son, the reason why he's alive today, it's a miracle that he's alive. Who had ever heard of a child being hit by a truck, going 30 feet in the air, and not being killed? You made $75 million in the market. But it's not everything the rabbi said is going to happen. You understand? That means he's not attributing anything to the rabbi. His son was lucky. He wasn't killed. Unrelated. He was advised to invest wisely. He doesn't get it. Yaakov, of course, had to take initiative. He bowed 7 times and he rose. But why did he soften Esav's heart? Because he prayed originally, Hatzileni no miyad ochi miyad Esav. If God wouldn't have responded to that tefillah, he would have been stone-hearted. He would have killed him. So why was he able to move his heart? Because he prayed. Therefore, nun is gula. How many people get it? Most don't. Why don't they? If it's so obvious and so clear, why don't people get it? It's very simple. If a person recognizes that his bracha, his blessing, is from God, what does it create? A debt? Debt? Who wants to be a debtor? I'm indebted to God. Shlomo Melech tells us in Mishlei in Proverbs, King Solomon, the wisest man, Eved loved lishmalveh. You know what a slave is? When you borrow money from another person, you're like his slave. You have to pay that debt regardless of what it cost you. But if I repay the debt, you know what happens? I'm going to have less to eat. But you owe them money. You're a debtor. When you borrow money, you're a debtor. Whatever you have to do to repay that debt, you have to repay the debt. You're like a slave. If you have to go out of your way, he's in another location. Well, let him come collect it. You borrow money, you have an obligation as a borrower to go inconvenience yourself to return the money that you borrowed. But it's an inconvenience. He wants his money, let him come and get it. The law is, Eved Lova Lishmalve. That the Love, the borrower, is like an Eved, like a slave. You're indebted to the lender because what he did for you. What is the obligation of a debtor? Minimally, acknowledge him. What are you talking about? Do you realize I have an MBA from Harvard, and I went to Oxford to get a PhD, and Wharton to do some other type of research? What do you think I'm so successful? What do you think I made partner at who knows where? What are you talking about? First of all, why did you get into Harvard? Why were you born with that special IQ and that certain aptitude? I mean, and other people not? Well, I'm one of the lucky ones. You know? I mean, God has, but every day you say the Amida. You say, Ato chonei lo dam das. If it's all happened by itself, and God has no say, what are you praying? God, give me intelligence, discretion, wisdom. What are you praying? What are you wasting God's time? What are you wasting your time for? Right? The truth is, for a person to really understand it, sometimes a person has to be hit over the head. He doesn't get it unless he's confronted with these realities and he's put in a position that it's almost unintelligent to speak the way he's speaking. But factually, that's the way people live their lives. Chofetz Chaim writes in a footnote in the laws of Lashon Hara, he says something very interesting. You know, a person, of course, we live in a physical world. We have to take our time to earn a living. A person has to sleep. You have to eat. You have to live responsibly. But to what point? What's necessity? What's necessity? No question. Necessity is necessity. But unfortunately, the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, convinces us that many things are necessities which are not necessities. For instance, here's an example. Person is running a store, earning a medium income living, making that kind of living, and all of a sudden business starts booming. And he rises to another level of wealth, and now people say, a man of your stature, you live in a hovel. It's inappropriate. It's disgraceful. A man of your wealth shouldn't build a mansion. He says, of course, builds a mansion. And quality garments, nothing less than custom made. Imported fabric. Silver buckled shoes. Coachman with 6 horses. Right? Footman. His peers now. He's in a different peer group. People say, you know something? It would make sense. You should open the same type of store in another community. He opens a chain of stores. It's unbelievable. The more he invests, the more business booms. Until now, he would rise early, 5 in the morning, study for a few hours, go to a minyan, pray with a minyan 3 times a day. After eating at night, he'd go back and study a few more hours. Now, mincha, impossible. Can it? After hours, he has to meet with different people presenting business opportunities. Shachris, that's what he has. But what about he has to travel out of town to visit his other outlets? The times he can't even daven with a minyan. And how quickly does he go? Then people say, you know, with all this money, it doesn't make sense just to keep money around. You invest it. So he diversifies. Eventually, doesn't pray with a minyan at all. Shabbos morning, he arrives. Mincha, he's too exhausted. Doesn't go to mincha. Ma'ariv is at home. Havdalah is at home. And this is it. So he says, between in a human relationship, person goes and gives you a business opportunity. And you realize he made a difference in your life, very positive difference. You can't stop singing that person's praises. Because the level of beholdenness you have to him, and appreciation, and indebtedness, there's nothing you wouldn't do for that person to reciprocate and to show you appreciation. But God, the more he does, the less dedicated you become. And that's reality in people's behavior. Why? But you're indebted to the person who does you the favor. The person says, you know, I'm going to give you $1 million salary. You know something, I can't accept it. I can't be indebted. You know, you ever hear such a thing? Impossible. Because you want it, that's the way it is. And even after it's said and done, even if I want to be an ingrate, I can say, you know something, I'm not going to acknowledge you. But if you recognize God as your benefactor, with God you can't play games. You're an ingrate to God, and you constantly know you're the ingrate. You understand? You have a conscience. God's going to cut you off. You're not going further. You know something? Initially, I don't even acknowledge it's really God. A person gave me a very phenomenal piece of advice, how to invest and where to invest. And how to maintain it, and how to advance it. Okay? See, I'm not an ingrate. Of course, God could have prevented it from happening. But you realize I have a lot to do with it. And that's the way people, they process it. The reality. Yaakov, you know, the Torah goes out of its way to tell us that when Yaakov fled and he comes to Aram Naharaim, the location where Rachel and Leah was, he comes and he sees shepherds with their flocks around the well. And he says to them, what are you wasting your time here? He says, well, there's a boulder on top of the well. We can't water the flocks because it's too heavy. We have to wait till more shepherds come. And jointly, we remove the boulder. We roll off the boulder. Yaakov is there. He hears what they say. All of a sudden, he sees Rachel coming with her father's flock of sheep. The moment he sees Rachel, he takes the boulder himself, just plucks it off the top. Doesn't roll it off, he plucks it off the top. So Chazal tell us, from here we see how powerful Yaakov was, how strong, physically strong he was. He just plucked it off the way a person pulls a cork off a bottle. Those are the words of Chazal, of the Midrash. I mean, what is the value of that information? What is that value that we should know that Yaakov had this superhuman strength, that he could do what multiple people couldn't do? What's the value of us knowing this? So what I said was, we find, what did Yaakov have to spend 20 years by Lavan? You know what that means? You think going to the Gulag is bad? To Siberia up in... Lavan was a personification of evil. And he would have killed Yaakov and his grandchildren if God wouldn't have intervened. This is evil. To be exposed in this evil environment for 20 years. For his wives and to earn his wealth. When Eliezer, his father's servant, was sent, his grandfather, to find a wife for Yitzchak, he sent tremendous wealth with him. He negotiated, stayed for a few moments, left the next day. So you mean Yaakov wasn't given wealth by Yitzchak? Yitzchak, Rivka knew exactly who her brother was. She knew him like no one knew him. And Yitzchak understood who he was. So what happened to the wealth? And Yitzchak had tremendous wealth. So why didn't he send him with wealth to negotiate with Lavan for the hands of his daughter? The answer is, so Chazal tell us, Eliphaz, the son of Esav, was sent by his father to kill Yaakov, to murder him, because Yaakov fled. Eliphaz studied with his grandfather, so he knew a little bit. So he says, you know, I have to kill you. There's a mitzvah kibbur avim. I have to honor my father. He was taught tremendous. To Esav, kibbur avim, honoring a father was the ultimate. My father commanded me, I must kill you. So I have to kill you. But he says, but didn't you learn from your grandfather that oni choshev kemes, that if a person is impoverished, it's the equivalent you've killed him. So Yaakov went and he took all the wealth that he was given by his father, gave it to Eliphaz. He relinquished everything, totally impoverished. So he says, now you accomplish both. I remain alive, and you fulfilled the dictate of your father. Therefore, he had nothing. When Yaakov gave all the wealth, he understood what's going to be the consequence of relinquishing the wealth. He has to spend now 20 years, minimally, or many years in this alien, impure environment. Now the question is this. There's a principle of self-defense that if somebody attacks you to kill you, you're obligated to rise to your own defense and kill that person. Why did Yaakov kill Eliphaz? Should have killed Eliphaz. So what are you going to tell me? Eliphaz was stronger than he was. That's what you're going to tell me. But the Torah already revealed Yaakov had superhuman strength. Yaakov could have killed Eliphaz. So why did he relinquish his wealth knowing he's going to have to spend an extended period of time? By Lavan, he should have killed Eliphaz, retained his wealth, negotiated with Lavan, returned immediately with his wives. With whoever will return. Why not? That's the question I asked. But now we know why the Torah had to tell us how strong he was. That he plucked the boulder like one plucks a cork off a bottle. So what I said was, why did Yaakov get married? He was 84 years old when he got married. Could you imagine? Yaakov, Ishtam Yoshev Oholim. He was the man of the tent of Torah. Why? His father was married. He was 40 years old. He didn't have children. He fathered children when he was 60. 84? You mean, so get married at 40, like your father. Get married at 60. 84? What are the delays? Yaakov knew that his grandfather and his father weren't sufficiently pure to father the Jewish people. What's the proof of the pudding? Avram had Yishmael. So you see there was an impure element within him, within Avram. Yitzchak had an Esau. That was an expression of the impurity that still existed within Yitzchak. Yaakov understood that if he would purify himself and refine himself spiritually, he may be qualified to be the father of the Jewish people. He felt until that moment he was not sufficiently qualified. When he had children, all tzaddikim. David HaMelech refers to the 12 tribes of Israel, Shiftei Koh. They're the tribes of God. All pure. Right? The names of the tribes were on the breastplate worn by the high priest, by the Kohen Gadol, on the Choshen. He knew this. Do you think this comes about by itself? If Yaakov would have killed Eliphaz, it's permitted, he's obligated. But taking a life is a diminishment in your spirituality. That's a diminishment. So if I'm here, I'm delaying my marriage to reach a point of perfection, to be able to father a Jewish people which are at the ultimate level. If I kill him, it's going to interfere. We're not going to be able to accomplish that. I prefer to relinquish all my wealth and not kill him, despite the fact that I have to spend endless years or untold years in such a foreign, alien environment. That's Yaakov Avinu. So why was Yaakov saved when he was on the way back? Nun, hatzileini no, miad ochi miad eis. Hatzileini no, double nun. That's why when he bowed 7 times and rose, why did Esau embrace him? That was Hashem was answering his tefillah, his prayer. Not finished. Pay. Bo nigalu Yisrael Mitzrayim. Double pay. Pakot pakarati. 2 words where the letter pay is repeated. Shenema pokot pakarati. Tzadi. Bo'osid legal Yisrael b'sof malchus revius. Hear this? We're waiting for Mashiach. There's going to be a war. Milchemes Gog Magog. We're going to be victorious. And then Mashiach comes. Mashiach will be the anointed of God to represent God in this world. He will be the king, the supreme mortal king over the world. When he comes, it's going to be tzadi tzadi. What is this? From the fourth kingdom. The fourth kingdom, this is Rome. The Edomites. We're in the Edomite exile right now. Who destroyed the second temple? Rome. The Romans destroyed the second temple. Shenema ish tzemach shmo. Who is this person? What the Mashiach? What's he called? Ish tzemach. Right? That's tzemach dover avdecho. The bracha of redemption. Mashiach. It's tzemach dover avdecho. Meiras atzmiach. Umitachtov yitzmach. So we have tzemach yitzmach. That's tzadi tzadi. V'kulam nemru lavrom avinu. Lavrom, hear this? Avram had in tradition all this, and he passed it on to his children. Meaning, for himself, Lech Lecho, Yitzchak from Avimelech, Yaakov from Lavan, Klal Yisrael from Egypt, and the ultimate redemption that was part of the Masorah. The Masorah was that at various intervals in existence, these expressions will bring Geula. What's the final expression? Ish tzemach yitzmach. So you have tzemach tzadi, yitzmach is another tzadi. V'Avram Moshe Yitzchak, Yitzchak Moshe Yaakov, Yaakov Moshe Yosef. Ul'echov. Yaakov gave over this tradition, the secret, the code words, to Yosef and his brother. Shenema pokot pokart yeschem. V'Osher ben Yaakov. And Osher, the son of Yaakov, Mosa Sor Hagula Lebito Serach. Serach bas Osher. V'kasher bo Moshe v'Aaron v'osu osus leineim. When Moshe and Aaron had performed miracles and signs to prove that that he is the Redeemer, Hochazigni Yisrael Serach bas Osher. Here he came with Pokot Pakarati. The elders knew nothing. The man's coming, he comes with a code word, they never heard of it before. So evidently, he asked the question, the Maral, if the Zakanim already were aware of the code words, Pokot Pakarati, maybe Moshe somehow overheard it. So how does that prove he's the Redeemer? Speaker Rebbe Lezer says no. The elders didn't know it. Moshe comes, his Pokot Pakarati, he performs miracles. So they're trying to get to the source of it. Who had the Masorah? Who had the secret? Serach bas Osher. Serach bas Osher was the one who revealed to Yaakov that Yosef was alive. She made up a song. And in merit of that, she lived endless years. Okay? She's the one who revealed exactly where the remains of Yosef were hidden. Serach bas Osher. Moshe didn't know. He was seeking out the remains of Yosef. They sunk it to the bottom of the Nile in a lead casket. Omar, Omru lo, bo odem echod v'osa osis leinenu. He says, this person came, he performed miracles. Kach v'kach, Omar aleim in b'osas elamamish. He said it was meaningless. Miracles mean nothing. Omru lo v'lo omar pokot pokarti eschem. But you know what accompanied the miracles? Pokot pokarti. Omar lem hu isha bo legal Yisrael. He's the man. He's the Redeemer. How do I know he's the Redeemer? Because I heard from my father. Osher. Shenema v'yami no'om ki poker Hashem amol. She says, this is our tradition. But it was a secret. She was the only one who knew it. Moshe knew it because God said it to him. And the elders knew it because what was the source of the tradition? Serach bas Osher. She said, miracles mean nothing. When he says, but he said, well, he says, he's the real thing. Now, it's interesting. Very interesting. Well, Moshe came to Egypt, and he performed miracles before Paro. He said, you know, you're bringing coals to Newcastle. We're the expert in sorcery. You think you're going to pull the wool over our eyes? We could replicate anything you could do. Right? That's what they said to him. We're not impressed. Okay? But of course it wasn't the same thing. The Rambam says, what is a prophet? What is a true prophet? A true prophet is a person who forecasts the future. Wait, and he has to perform a supernatural act. And if the event happens what he forecasted, and he performed the act, he's a true prophet. So Rambam asks, maybe the supernatural act which he performed, maybe it's through sorcery. How do we know it's real? Okay? So the Rambam says, when two witnesses come and testify that someone committed a capital crime, you put them to death, maybe they're lying. As much as you interrogate them, something always slips through the system. So how do you know? How do you put a person to death based on the testimony of two witnesses? Rambam says, because the Torah says if two witnesses testify and you interrogate them as the Torah prescribes, you accept that as fact. The Torah says that if a person comes and performs a supernatural act and he forecasts it happens, you accept it as it's not sorcery. But it may be. It's irrelevant what it may be. You don't have to be concerned about that. But if the Torah wouldn't have said that, you couldn't accept the prophet. Are we such expert in what sorcery is not? So Serach Bar Sosha says, but he performed miracles. She says, it's meaningless. Meaningless. She says, but he said, Pokot Pakarati. That's the code word. That's the real thing. Those are real miracles. This is not sorcery. He's God's agent. He's the Goel. He's the Redeemer. That's the understanding. You know, all the true Gedolei Yisrael, you have people, the hocus pocus people. Kabbalists, they do this, they do that. They're not impressed with any of that. The Rizal was the greatest in the hidden Torah from Tam Rav Shimon Yochai. That's how great he was, the Rizal. And through his power of understanding of Torah, he was able to perform literally miracles with the conjugation of letters of the Aleph base, the names of Hashem. But who was the Rizal? Rizal knew the whole Torah in its entirety, in the revealed and the hidden. So a man who has that behind him, we know this is not nonsense. But another person says he goes and does hocus pocus. He's a holy man. You have to kiss the hems of his robes. You know something? Let him go elsewhere. Not impressed. But he performed miracles. It's all meaningless. It's nonsense. Which is it? Pokot Pakarati. Now I know he's the real thing. Remember many years ago in Baltimore, he's in the 60s. A person comes to Baltimore, an older Jew, and he says he has the talis of the Vilna Gaon. And he's in a certain synagogue in the city. People were flocking there to see it and to kiss it. Yeah, or should have heard about it. He says, firstly, he doesn't believe it's the talis of the Vilna Gaon. Secondly, even if it is, what are you kissing it? What is it? It's some kind of talisman over here. What is it? It's nonsense. What gives it special kedusha? Has no. So what if it's the talis of the? Firstly, it's not. But how gullible could you be? It's all nonsense. Somebody he's already established as a credible person. He does things. You value his bracha. He values. Person does a little hocus pocus. People are throwing unlimited money at the person, and they seek out his blessing, and they don't make a move unless they consult with that person. But who is he? Well, he said something. And you know something? And I think what he said is true. He thinks. So what do we start? We started with what? With Lech Lecho, Lamed Lamed, Lech Lecha, Chof Chof. And then we had Mem Mem, Nun Nun, right? Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Pei Pei, Tzadi Tzadi. Elu he osius nichpul ba'alif beis. Kach morim heim ala gula. We have certain letters in the alphabet. You have a letter which is written in the middle of a word, and we have a closing letter. You have Chof and you have Chof Sofis. You have Mem, Mem Sofis. You have Nun, Nun Sofis. Pei, Pei Sofis. Tzadi, Tzadi Sofis. So all these letters have they're double letters. So, and how did the expression? They're reiterated. Okay? Lekach morim gam alagula. Ki dava yadua. The Maral says, because it's a known fact. Ki be'esum shnaim osius. Boro olam kivur b'sefer Yetzirah. The 24 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, as it's written, the Sefer Yetzirah, the book of formation, God created the world in its entirety with the spiritual energy which lies within the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Ubehem chokak tzura se'olam v'nyoni olam. You know, letters, they have a certain form. If you're able to see and understand the forms of the letters, every aspect of existence lies within that letter. That is the blueprint. Like you read a blueprint, you understand why the house is, if the blueprint was followed properly, what house looks the way it is. So if you're able to understand what lies in the letters and the formation of the letters, you'll see every aspect of its existence at every level. Ve'elein heosius. What are they? Matzapach. Matzapach, these are the letters. Chak ben hagula shalolam. These are the letters which are the center letter, the letter where it's either the beginning or the middle of a word or the end of a word. Shagula gamkin havoya se'olam. What is gula? Gula impacts on all existence. If there wouldn't be Avram, the world would not be what it is. There wouldn't be a Jewish people. There wouldn't be a Yitzchak, there wouldn't be a Yaakov. There wouldn't be a Yaakov, there'd be no Jewish people. If we wouldn't have left Egypt, there'd be nothing. And the ultimate redemption is what? That's when existence meets its purpose and its objective. Ki elu osis hem osis pshutim va'pshita sheyesh bo gula moshe nizbar lekamon eitzel nitzis matzah kamakomos. Something which is simple, push it. It's not complicated. That's what gula is. Everything is clear, not complicated. There are no questions. Today we have questions. Of course, there's a lot. It says Vayeira Vayivoker, time of creation. It was evening, it was morning. So the Gemara says, the Medrash says, Vayerev ze olam hazeh, Vayivoker ze olam haba. Morning, what you don't see at night, everyone's very, very clear. In the morning, why does it come clear? You figured it out? Because it's obvious. It's illuminated by the light. Today, we're in the dark. You have endless distortions of truth. At the end of the time, there are no distortions of truth. Everything is clear. Gula is simple. When the redemption will come, simple. What happened when we left Egypt? Before we left Egypt, we were spiritually infected with impurity. Everything was a distortion. Is the stick the snake or is the snake the stick? Is the water blood or is blood water? Is it lice or is it granules of sand? What is it? This is how extreme the distortion of Egypt was. Everything was distorted. What happened after the 10 plagues come? No distortions any longer. All the deities of Egypt are destroyed. It's clear that God is the supreme being. We're ready to leave. In moments they left. And they came to a new level at the splitting of the sea. They saw the kingship of God at the sea. That was the level of clarity they saw. It was Boker in its real form. What's the ultimate boker? Ultimate boker. Boker is not the lightest time of day. Sun, high noon. That's the lightest time of day. When is that? Hashem That's tzadi tzadik. That's tzemach yitzmach. But that's simple. The Sophists is always a long letter. Long means simple, straight, not complicated. Not complicated. The Or Chaim writes in Zos HaBrocha, I think it's Zos HaBrocha, that he says that the only reason why a person has difficulty studying the Torah, Avi, this is up your line, up your alley. The reason why a person has difficulty studying the Torah and has difficulty, as intelligent you may be, is because there are klipos. They're spiritual husks. A husk, you have a kernel, it's within a husk. You have to remove the husk to come to the kernel. There's spiritual impurity which entombs the truth. But what's the basis for spiritual impurity? It's not the Torah, chas v'sholom. It's us. We have endless blockage, barriers to come upon the truth. A person opens the vault. He worked 20 years to open the vault. Comes in, opens the vault, finds another vault in the vault. No, gets the expert locksmith, take another 20 years. Time he's finished, he's 90 years old. Finally opens it, unfortunately finds it's empty. But that's not the case with the Torah. Right? You remove the husks, you come upon Yikorig Mipninim. It's more precious than diamonds. But why? Why is it so difficult? It's not that difficult. The difficulty lies with us. A person has a cataract on his eye, which it has to be operated on. He says, and there's a Rembrandt before his eyes with a light over it illuminating it. The person says, but I can't see it. There's not enough light. There's enough light. You have to take off the membrane off covering your eye, then you'll be able to see it. So the problem is not with the illumination of the master. The problem is with the person that has this problem. That's exactly why we can't come upon the truth of Torah. What's going to be at the end? Gula is poshut. Simple. Not complicated. Because that's when truth becomes revealed and obvious. Ki ha-poshet omid b'atzmo, ein lo tziruf el dover ma, rak omid b'atzmo. What's the difference between an alloy and a pure material? Alloy, it's a mixture. Pure material, it's poshut, simple. Gold is gold, platinum is platinum, silver. No dross in the silver. Pure gold, something else not so simple. What's silver? What's impurity? It's simple. It's pure. Poshut, it's purity. Chen inyan hanigol omid ba'atzmo mebli sheish bo chibur v'tziruf el odon shelo. Lo ken ha-meshubet she'enu poshut keish lo tziruf el asher hu meshabed lo. Phenomenal. A person who's truly a redeemed person, he could speak his mind, he could see, he has no blockage. He has no reason, as you say, to call a spade a spade. Let's say a person is beholden to endless people. You have to be careful what you say. Because you never know the consequence of what you say. You never know what it's going to cost you. Person's the goel. There's no costing. He speaks the truth. Everything is simple. There's no shenanigans. There's no couching it in something else that people have to figure it out. Certain people, a certain person. He asks people questions. They don't give you a straight answer. There's certain people, as much as you ask them a question, and we're not talking about anything on a personal level, they're so conditioned, they will not give you a straight answer. Truth is, these people have to go into serious therapy. Everything is twisted and distorted and convoluted. So if this is the way the person answers a simple question, how does this person see life? Totally in a corrupted way. There's nothing this person can't see the way he wants to see it. Because he never sees it the way it is. Because otherwise, why don't you give a straight answer? I mean, it's fact. It's poshut. He stands independent of anything. He's not beholden to anybody, to anyone. He has no master that he has to answer to. His master is God. He's God's agent. Mashiach is a prophet. He's God's representative in this existence. Mashiach means the anointed one. A king is anointed. Mashiach ben David. He's from the Davidic line. That's a free man. Free man is, I have no master. No one dictates to me. I am independent. Something which is a composite. It's not pure. It's interesting. There's an expression. Either you hang together or you hang separately. Right? We stand united, we hang separately. So what does that mean? If something is a composite, that means to be the entity it is only that because it's associated with something else. The moment you take it apart, it doesn't exist any longer. That's this. A dava posh means it is what it is. A composite means you're not your own person. You're only that because of your attachment to something else. The moment that attachment is broken, you don't exist any longer. What's matzah? Has no yeast, no fermentation. It's pure. Lokama chomet shu murkav. Chocheluk she'enu ben chorin kamo yispar lekamen etzel matzah. Zo. Lekach haposher roy legulo shebo shibod, to be continued. Okay.